Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
This show is sponsored by Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. Hello, all my entrepreneurs and business leaders, and welcome to the Michael Esposito Show, where I interview titans of industry in order to inform, educate, and inspire you to be great.
Hello, all my entrepreneurs and business leaders, and welcome to the Michael Esposito Show, where I interview titans of industry in order to inform, educate, and inspire you to be great. My guest today is a visionary founder and the architect of human-centric selling, rising from the brink of bankruptcy to building a $38 million empire in just 18 months. He's revolutionized sales by transforming it from a strategy into a way of life. His approach is reshaping the sales landscape, emphasizing genuine connections over transactions. As a keynote speaker and a trainer to over 50,000 sales reps across more than 100 countries, he is not just changing the game, he's setting a new standard for how sales is done. Please welcome the founder and visionary leader of the Sales Connection, Kayvon K. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
So for our listeners, you're not going to see this, but for those of you on YouTube who are going to see this beautiful episode that we have, I have a sty in my eye, and so therefore my right eye is like partially closed, but don't worry, I have not injured myself. So I just wanted to put that out as the disclaimer for everyone. I just want to get that out of the way, and I want to jump into your story, Kayvon. I watched a lot of your YouTube videos on your sales mastery and your sales skills. I've heard some interviews that you've done on, I think it was like a Good Morning show in Los Angeles, the Lala show. And in it, you really do emphasize the idea of relationship before even sales. You even talk about people's trust. And so, of course, we're going to talk about your sales experience, how you learned all of these techniques on how to build great, solid relationships in order to gain trust and make sales. But what I think I'd like to start is I'd like to get to know, where did you come from and how did you start this progression in your career of sales?
Yeah, I know the day, because I've done a lot of work of my past, and I know the day, when I became a salesperson or knew that I was selling, I would say. When I was grade 1, kindergarten, they diagnosed me ADD, ADHD, learning disabilities, reading, writing, math, and communication. What was left? Like phys ed? They said that it grew up in a very, very small town, racist and all that. And they said I'd be in jail before I even graduated elementary school or work in a factory. And it was the same story in high school and even in university and college. And I got through all of that. But my entire life, I was selling. I was like, the idea of just selling people wrong, like you're wrong about me. So I just felt like I was always in this, fight or flight. I was in a fight. I was just in this, coming always from this place of survival. And I think when you come from a place of survival, it's a form of selling. Right? You're fighting and you're selling your way in. So I just knew that I was different. I knew that this regular school system was not for me. I knew I wasn't going to be, I was never going to be able to go work in a corporation or work as an employee or a 9-to-5. Like that was just, doesn't even work with me. So I always got sales jobs. My uncle was a a salesperson in furniture. He was selling furniture at a young, like I was like 10 years old, and he'd bring me in on the weekends, and I'd watch him sell. And I just still remember today, like people would be like, he was like the top sales guy there. And, back then you'd think about a big kind of a warehouse, like it's a huge building, and people would walk in and like scream his name. And he was always just like, signing deals, always just getting them. And people were always happy, shaking hands. And I was like, that's like, what a great feeling. Like, I want to do that. I didn't know what that was, right? I didn't know what sales was back then, but I knew I wanted to do that. So when I was, 18, 19, got my first jobs in retail, kind of selling. And then I got into my passion sport, which was skiing. So I got into like repping ski companies, Rossi, Dinosaur, some of the big manufacturers. And then from there, I got into mortgages, and then I got into real estate, and finally finished my career, I would say my corporate career, as the #1 pharmaceutical rep for the largest company in the world. And a lot of things in between that, but my entire career has been nothing but sales.
When you were talking about your days back in school, you mentioned that teachers tagged you as not being able to achieve. And I don't know if you said diagnosed or not undiagnosed ADHD.
Oh, diagnosed.
Diagnosed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Diagnosed ADHD. We're going to have fun today in this podcast.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. What's that?
We always
all
pop around with our ADHD entrepreneurs, which typically is a trait of ours.
It is. It really is.
I'm interested in the mindset shift that you had to not allow what they were saying to you to hold you back, because there's a choice that was made there, whether it was conscious or unconscious. And the choice was to cower in a corner and just say, you know what, this is who I am, and this is who they tell me I am, and I'm a failure, and I'm never going to achieve more, or to make a choice and to excel and to prove them wrong, essentially. So I'm interested in that mindset shift for you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. It would be a lie if I could sit here and say, in grade 1, I had this mind shift. That'd be such a lie. But I think what I can say, I had an inner fight. I had an inner energy in me. I was full of piss and vinegar, and I had a big chip on my shoulder. So it was. I didn't come from the place of, oh, they're right and I'm going to break. I came from a place of, oh yeah, let me prove you. I'm going to prove you wrong, right? And that's kind of the mentality I've always had, was like the underdog is truly the underdog, right? And it's overplayed. The underdog story is definitely overplayed, but this truly is where I was coming from, is kind of the underdog position. And what kept me in the game was there was no other choice, right? Like I was in this small town. My parents didn't come. I always say this to respect my parents. They did the best they could with the circumstances they had. And it wasn't many. It wasn't much, right? So for me, it was you can't dream in towns like that.
Right.
There was no dreaming. It was your typical. You're either going to graduate and you're going to become the doctor and everyone's going to praise you. You're going to be the lawyer and everyone's going to respect you. You're going to be the teacher and people are just going to be like, okay, right? What am I missing? Lawyer, doctor, teacher, and whatever, another one. And then the fifth one was you're going to be working in the factory where everyone disrespects you and throws, shit at you, right? And they said I wasn't even going to make it to the factory.
Right.
And my dad worked at that factory.
Right.
And I knew place was definitely not, like, I was never going there. Like, the people were raised in my town that was their life. Like, I grew up with people, they still work at that factory. Now, God, like, I love it. Like, I respect it and I honor it, but I look at it and go, like, because of that small town, it just ripped people's dreams. And for me, I don't know what it was. I just knew, like, I needed to get out. And as soon as I graduated, I left and I never came back. And the funny thing is, as soon as I graduated, my parents left and they never went back, right? They were just there for me through high school. I was playing football. They didn't want me to pull out, right? I got a university football scholarship, whatnot. So they didn't want to pull me out, in my middle of high school. So even in high school, I remember teachers just like being just rude, ignorant, racist. And, there was only there was like the one or two teachers in my career that believed in me. And that was enough for me. That was enough for me to keep going on the days that were hard. But it was challenging. Like, it was, I can't express to some people because I can't put into words because I don't even like going back there, how painful school was for me. Like every single day having to sit in that damn classroom, being taught by some average teacher that doesn't know shit about anything, being taught a curriculum that's only, there to make you become an employee. And yet everyone's praising this thing as if this is the best thing in the fucking world. I don't know if we swear. I'm sorry.
You can swear.
You're getting me
okay.
emotional. It's early morning for me.
It's okay. You can swear.
And I'm like, you got me going now. You got me going now. So, yeah, you asked about the mindset. And I think there's here's the reality, because this is very important for business. And it is really important for entrepreneurs, and people who are thinking about going. Yeah. There's two types of people in the world. There's always, everyone says that, but in this case, there's two types of people in the world. There's the type of people that when the shit gets going or someone has a gun to your head, type A, break down, they fold, right? They become paralyzed. Type B, when their back's against the wall, they fight, they do better. Like some people can perform better when the back's against their wall. And that's me. Like I'm a type B guy. So I've always came from that survival, and I've never backed down.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Because backing down, what do you have? Like you're going to quit? Winners never quit, and quitters never winners never quit, quitters never win.
That's right.
So I just knew that. And again, lucky with my sports. I grew up ski racing. It's competitive, very competitive. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about milliseconds, right? And I had one of those old school coaches. At that time, he was probably 70. I was 8, 9 years old. And he was, hitting you, literally hitting you and breaking bamboo sticks off your ass if you weren't, listening. But it was, some people are like, oh, that's abuse. No, that was the best thing for me. That was the only thing that changed my life.
Wow.
It changed my life so much. Prior to that, I was at the principal's office every single day. My mom was picking me up 3-4 times a week from school. The moment I got in a ski race and met this coach, the principal called my mom and said, and my mom goes, yeah, I know. Okay. Just give me a second. I gotta, leave work. And he was like, no, I'm telling you, whatever you're doing at home is working. We haven't seen Kayvon here in a week. Because now I had something to lose, and I had something to daydream about. I had something I was passionate about, so I can leave the world that I was in and go into a dreamland of skiing every weekend. And that's kind of what I did.
And I'm assuming that was a big discipline for you too. So you're saying this guy was, cracking the whip on you.
Yeah.
Right. But this is where some discipline started entering your life.
Massive discipline. This is actually the first time I probably met discipline. Yeah.
And I think for people, so I'm not diagnosed ADHD, but I'm dyslexic, and I've had my issues of being, I guess, thought of as ADHD in terms of not paying attention and all the school problems myself as well. And I've gone through a couple schools because of my disciplinary problems, which are, when you think about it, our disciplinary problems. They weren't like we were breaking the law. We just were being contrary to our teachers and what was being taught.
I was the same way. I love that you said that. I was never a bad kid,
right.
The bad kid breaking the law or being so disrespectful or going across that line. I was just the busy kid.
Yeah. And what happens with discipline, I almost equate that to meditation. And I don't know if you're a meditator or not, but the discipline or the disciplinarian, what they're doing is they're helping us through a very through a tough way of loving us, right? Yeah. They're helping us create that moment, that gap of time to make a decision. And because it's tough discipline, like what you're explaining, your gap of time is saying, do I want to get hit or make the right decision?
Or do I want to let my mentor down or myself down? It wasn't even that. I wasn't afraid about getting hit. I want to make sure it wasn't so crazy abuse here.
Right.
I remember getting hit by a bamboo once, and I never did that again.
Right.
Yeah, it was more at that point. If I go back, it was actually more of not wanting to let myself or my coach down. So again, it was something bigger than me. It's always been something bigger than me.
So it was providing that.
I was going to say, I always felt like internally that I was meant for more.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. I didn't know how to tap into it. I didn't know what that was.
Right. And that discipline kind of gave you that time to be able to start seeing that. And I like that you said that, something that was bigger than you. I want to break down a couple things that you mentioned in everything that you just said there. We're definitely going to talk about the two types of people. There's a great book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and they get into the two types of people. So we're going to talk about that.
Well, the fixed and the right?
Yep, fixed and growth mindset. So we're going to talk about that. I want to just stay in the school place for a second here, only because you mentioned something more than once, and so I'm very curious about it. And then we'll move on from there and jump into the two mindsets. You mentioned racist a few times in the school. And so I just want to point a few things out to our listeners here, is that you're in Canada. And so I don't know where you are in Canada. You'll describe that for us. And racism in the States is obviously a little bit different than maybe racism in Canada. Yeah. You look kind of like me, so I'm curious as to what racism was like for you.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Persian. My family was Persian, Iranian. Okay. And we grew up in a small town. I don't want to say the town. I don't want to disrespect my people there, but it was a very small town in northern Ontario.
Sure.
And it was you're basically white or you're Italian. And that was it. And, Italians in there are the most racist kind of people, one of them. And I'm not saying that it's just culturally, whatever, or at least there.
Culturally in that town over there.
For any Italian listening, I'm not disrespecting. I actually love, I grew up in that culture. I love it.
You're speaking about the people that were racist towards you in that town. And that's what you're speaking
Yeah, exactly.
to.
Yeah.
And that's fair.
Yeah. And that was what it, I try to blend in as one. Because you can, I can maybe pass off as one, but as soon as
I said you kind of look like me, and I'm half Italian, so
it was funny. Yeah, it was funny because growing up, it wasn't actually until you do the therapy, right, and you go back your past and you talk to experts. Growing up, I always thought there was always this energy, there was always this eyes on you, looking down on you, not getting invited to the best parties, not because you weren't cool. It wasn't because I was cool. It was because of where I came from, right? And I always thought that was because my parents weren't rich. My dad wasn't a business owner. He wasn't the doctor. He wasn't the lawyer. He wasn't in that cool crowd, I call it, right? The cool crowd. So all my life, that's where my fire was. I'm going to become rich and I'm going to become wealthy. I'm never going to live like that again. Nobody's going to let me be part of that crowd ever again, right?
Right.
Find out I don't actually want to be part of that crowd when you get older.
Yeah.
But the side note. But it wasn't until I realized it wasn't actually that. It was a little bit of that, but it was actually them being racist to being the only Persian. I was the only Persian family there, the only Persian kid. So when Ali, Kayvon, Fatimizada, what is that, right? That's a lot of words. So syllables. And that's what it was. It was like that in elementary, and it was like that in high school. And then when I got out and went to college and university, it was a little bit like that, but nothing crazy. But there's racism against every culture. Not just, I know you're thinking the United States, we think racism towards black people, but there's racisms of all different cultures, of all different types.
Yeah.
I want to sit here because I want to make sure that I'm not sounding like a victim, because I don't think I'm nearly, I was not in a position where I know some people who have faced racism in different areas in like you said, in the United States. I'm sure that was 100 times worse than what I had to go through, but I went through my version of it. And my version of it stung enough. It was enough for me for it to, cripple me in some cases and empower me in others.
Well, yeah. I mean, anytime someone's getting put down, however they're being put down, it still affects our psyche. And and racism shows itself in many ways. And I follow all spectrums of color and culture and diversity, and people who have had the worst racism towards them are racist towards others themselves sometimes. And so it's part of, I guess, the evolution of humanity. But I don't think you sound like a victim, and here's why, and I think it's important for everybody to hear this, is that we went back into when you were in a place where you were being held back, and where everything around you is telling you that you can't achieve more. And so what we're identifying here is what those people were doing and how they were doing it. And so they were doing it in multiple ways. They were tagging you as you can't develop, you can't grow, and here's why. It's because of how you are in school, it's because of your behavior, it's because of your culture, it's because of the way you look. And so that's what we're addressing here, and it's not something that I think that you are today. So obviously that comes across very clear because of what you're doing today. The next thing that you mentioned is there's two types of people. And it's so true because, and you already kind of know where we're going with this about the two types of people and the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. And it's when we say there's two types of people, you could say it in so many different ways. Like you mentioned, there's people that quit or there's people that fight. There's the learner, there's the non-learner, there's the growth mindset, there's the fixed
like
mindset.
I said, there's always different types,
But what's true about all of it, no matter whoever you are talking about this, and I'd love for us to expand on this because this goes into sales too, is like when you could figure out where somebody's at and what they are and what they're liking and what their ideals are and what they value, that's when you could really start positioning yourself in a good place for a sale. And so anyway.
So I want to correct that though. Because that's what most salespeople would say, position yourself for the right sale. No. It allows you to connect to the prospect so you can serve them.
Right. I love that. Yep. Yeah.
Totally different.
Well,
place.
And I'm gonna defend my point only because I didn't mean it in the sense of the sleazy strategy. I'm gonna say it in that
I wasn't towards you.
In that
I was not towards you.
Exactly what you're saying and right on with what you're saying. When I'm saying position, it's find that way to connect. Like how can you connect? And if you could figure out people's personalities and where they land, that's when you could figure out how to connect with them because that's what we're connecting on. We're connecting on that personality level.
Yeah, write that down. We'll talk about that later. 4 personalities. I'll tell you all about that.
Yeah.
How to connect.
Well, let's get right into the 4 personalities because we're kind of
we're
there.
Going right there.
Yeah,
we're
ADD
in. We're ADD.
Why not? We're already there talking about the 2 types of people. And what I wanted to just say about the 2 types of people, and I think you'll agree with this, is that really all of them, you're non-learners, your fixed mindsets, your people who quit. They're in the mindset of there's no more for me. It's a closed off mindset. And it's that the quit is I'm not learning anymore. I'm stuck here.
It's scarce. It's
scarcity versus
right?
abundance.
It's a scarce mindset.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can't have scarcity as an entrepreneur. You cannot. Because you'll find it everywhere if you do. And I say that because I had that. Starting out was so.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Challenging because of my scarce mindset. And I deal with it every day. I literally wake up every day and I make the decision. Do I want to choose scarcity or do I want to choose abundance? Because I know if I choose scarcity, the chances of me being successful that day are probably 0. But when I choose abundance, they're higher. And it's a decision. And it's just a decision you have to make.
So let's identify that. Identify that in terms of your storytelling of what scarcity looks like for you in that moment. Because we all go through that, right? So what did that look like for you?
Well, I mean, not enough leads. There's so much competition out there. There's not enough people in the world. There's not enough people in my market. There's so many versions of scarcity, right? There's no more real estates to be picked up, whatever it is, right? Versus the abundant in my industry for sure is for instance, when I started our second company, which was a sales connection, which was agencies, building sales departments in my niche world, internet marketing, there was maybe 3-4 competitors out there, us being one of them, being top 2. Today, the amount that come across my desk, I probably get 2. I'm telling you, there's hundreds of them. So in my mind, I can go, all these guys are coming out of nowhere. They're going to take all the people out there. Or I go, that's great. There's more, because there's no way even all all of them that are coming out can actually service every single business that needs us. So there's a huge difference there. I don't look at my like I used to look at my competition. Scarce people look at their competition and say, I want to beat them. I want to dominate them. I look at my competition and I say, how do we collaborate? How can we win? Same industry. I actually just talked to literally my direct competitor. I had a call with him yesterday. He grabs a client and I'm like, and I call him to congratulate him because he posted on social and grabbed a massive client, like bigger than I've ever got. So I wanted to call him and say, congrats. First thing he says, you want in? Hell yeah, man. Let's go. Right? Like that's abundance versus scarcity. A scarce business owner first wouldn't even call him. Be like, right? And then on the other end, it takes two people to play tango, right? Like to pay that though, right? And then on his end, he could have had scarcity and be like, yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Bye. He had abundant minds. I go, I have so many leads for this new client. We're talking thousands a day, like 1,000 new leads a day. He's like, I can't handle all this. He's like, I would love for you to come in. Awesome. Let's collaborate. Not dominate, not compete. We collaborate.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized when I was in the top 10%, I was competing with everybody. When I got to the top 1%, like the 5%, I was dominant. I was like, I'm not competing anymore. I'm going to dominate. And I was like, but how do I get into that 111, like 0.001%? And I realized it's not about competition, not about domination. It's all about collaboration.
Define competition in your eyes.
I mean, me against you. I'm going to win.
Yeah. So many people in sales, I think, look at competition, like you said, as a bad thing. And the other perspective I have of competition is it, and I think you mentioned it in the story that you just shared, is that there's abundant in that market. So if you were to look at starting a business and there's no competition in that market, there's no other companies doing it, I mean, that's a great thing, right? Because then there's an opportunity for you. And
if you find a market where there's no business and nobody's serving it, please call me. We'll do
yeah,
business.
Right. Of course, right.
So that market,
but but that means that there's a great opportunity to serve it, right? So you have a great opportunity. But on the other side of that, which is what you're speaking to, which is the more likely side, is that if you're starting a business and you look and you see that place is flooded, it's got a lot in it. To me, or what we're talking about in terms of competition, what that competition is telling us is that, wow, there are a lot of people here because there are a lot of people that need to be serviced. And so therefore, I have an opportunity to create.
Yeah.
So I love that.
So I'll tell you another example of it because I know we got time here. When I was in pharmaceutical sales, my first year, I knew that's a big game. I'm playing with the big boys, which I thought at that point. I was like, I'm going to I thought I was going to the NHL. Literally, I was like, I'm going to the NHL of sales. Got in there were a bunch of dinosaurs. But my first year, I had 1,000 different SKUs, 250 different locations that I had to drive to. That's a lot. Like that's a lot of volume and relationships. I was competing about relationships for 10, 15 years relationships. So my first year, I had in my head, I was like, I knew I wasn't going to be number one. I just knew it because of just the sales cycle of the industry. It's not a limiting belief. It was a reality. And the relationships that it was like going to take time to infiltrate. So my first year, I didn't ask for a sale. I just maintained what was given to me because we had a book of business. And all I did was build relationships. So the numbers come out and, I'm in the top 3, 4, right? And everyone's like, how did you do that, right? Peer relationship. Then I called my manager, Jan, first. I said, I'm going to compete now. Watch me. She's like, I know you will. So then I started doing some selling and making sales. And at the end of the year, I was like 110% to the budget. Everyone saying say 100 max, maybe 101. And then by the time it was like my 3rd or 4th year, I called her and she's like, I know. I'm like, this is the year. She's like, I know. 145%. That's domination. When no one else got to 100%. That's what domination is. That's what competition is to me. Like that's what beating somebody is, right? And then so it got by where I was going with that is I found a way. I don't want to get into the details because it doesn't matter, but I found a way to be successful in that specific industry and what I was doing. I was trying to go to my own team. So my own team members, and I was like, guys, let's sit down. I want to help you all. I want to show you what I'm doing so you're not working as hard and you guys can get your numbers. Because it doesn't matter if they get to 140. We all get paid.
Right.
I don't care. Like, as long as I'm 140, if you're 140, I'll be 141. I just want to be number one. But I like this gap. Why we have such a gap? It's never good to have a gap like that because you also get a target on your back, which I did. So my guys, my entire team, they were so scarce mindset because old farts, not growth mindsets. Instead of saying this young guy obviously has something and he's willing us to show, they said no. And they went to the competition and they would sit with the competition, my own team members, at an IHOP, because there are dinosaurs, eating breakfast, there are bacon and eggs, and trying to come up with schemes to get me not fired out of the industry. They started spreading rumors, spreading all this shit. Insane. It's crazy. That's the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Yeah. Between somebody that want like abundance, scarcity.
Yeah.
See, fixed mindset people live in scarcity because it's fixed. They're not willing to grow because they're scarce. It's contained, right? Growth mindset people believe in abundance. There's growth. There's more room to grow. There's more abundance to live. There's more things to achieve.
And let's stay with these personality types that you were going to get into, which is the 4 personality types, because I think that's also going to help in terms of this conversation that we're having.
Yeah,
here.
so I'll say this because I've done them all. There's so many, like the Myers-Briggs. Then you got the gemstones are called, which is called like gemstones. And then you have the colors, and then you have the disc. There like so many, and they break them up in a million different, some people are like there's 6, sometimes there's 8, sometimes there's 30. I actually, and out of all of them, if you look at all of them foundationally, if you look at all of them, there's actually only 4.
Right.
There's only 4 types of people in this world. Now, before I say anything more, understand that people have a mix of it. Very seldomly we have someone who's like half and half, but they're there. But if you understand the 4, then you'll understand how to speak to these people. You understand how to connect to them. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what they are. So they're not sexy names. I just think of them as regular people. Okay. So the first person is what you call as the CEO. That's the executive leader. That's what people like. It would be in color red. It'd be color red. It'd be high D dominance. It'd be, I don't know, in Ian and she be like Myers-Briggs. There's so many letters. I don't know which one it is there, but that's the person where when you're speaking to them, you better know your shit. You better be direct. If you're meeting them in person, you better be dressing sharp, not be late, not just shoot the shit, right? These are CEOs. Think about that, CEOs. The second type of person is what I call as a life of party. They're there, and people think I know that people have this negative connotation to it. I don't have a negative connotation to it. To me, it's like they're life of the party, meaning they're the dreamers. They're the visionaries. They're the ones that they live in the future. They're excited. If you go to them with facts and figures, you're going to weigh them down. They don't want to get caught up in the minutia. No. Send that to my CEO.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
They're the ones where you're going to talk about, man, what's it going to look like when you imagine all the people when you're on stage. Right? Think about all the, that's how you kind of speak with them. The third person is what I call as the Mother Teresa's. Now, did you notice something when I said Mother Teresa?
Yeah, your voice changed, of course.
Exactly. Because I've trained my brain and my brain to know when I speak to Mother Teresa's, I got to speak a little bit more sincere, softer. Because Mother Teresa's are all about impact. Sure, they might care a little bit about the numbers, but nowhere near as the impact that they're going to make. So when I'm speaking to a Mother Teresa and I'm trying to connect to a Mother Teresa, I'm not talking like this, because if I talk like this, my regular self, they're going to crush them. You will crush them. They'll melt. It's like they'll melt, right? So you got to soften. And you got to connect even more. Now, you don't do this insincerely. You do this with sincerity and integrity, but you just do this. Again, I'm doing this because I want to connect and help them. And I want to connect on their level, not because I want to sell them. The Mother Teresa's, they're all impact. So if I talk about the money, it's nothing to them. But if I talk about, well, think about as a result of, I'm just saying, a result of the money, think about the impact you're going to have. Think about the people you're going to be able to help, the things you're going to do, the legacy you're going to be able to live. And then the fourth one, which are my personal kryptonite, just because of my personality of being very high I, so life of party is my dominant one, is engineers. Those are, I call it and I know exactly when I'm speaking to one of those, because they're the facts, they're the figures guys, they're ESP, especially, specifically, and precisely. That's what I call it, ESP. They are the ones that when you say hello to them, they go, you say, hey, how's it going? And you get this. Boop, boop, beep, boop, 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 boop. Their brains go, boop, boop, and then they go, I'm doing good. How are you? Because the way they take information in is like, can you imagine? It's like a computer. Like it comes into their brain and it has to go in the right areas. The brain has to compute it all. So when you're speaking with them, you better know your facts and you better know your figures, and you cannot talk about the dream, because more engineers, they're risk adverse. They can't see the future. They see the right now, the actual. Oh. Yeah. Sorry, are you there?
Yeah, you're still there. I'm taking
sorry, my computer went black because I haven't been on it for a while.
Blanked and all, but I got and they're factual.
We're back. Yeah. So those are the four personalities. And when you know how to communicate with them, then you'll know how to connect with them. And you know how to connect with them, you'll know how to serve them.
Yeah, and you did it with the Mother Teresa one, which is exactly what we were talking about earlier about, I used the word positioning and maybe not the best word for it, but what we're saying here, and I like that you said it, is having sincerity and authenticity. I speak about this with my communication courses and public speaking courses. Many new speakers, many new even salespeople, right? They confuse the way that they speak with imposter syndrome and think, well, that's not me, that's not who I am. And the truth is, and here's what I love, and I was taught this by one of my communication mentors, is if it's coming from your voice and it's coming from you, then it's you. And so while if you're doing it insincerely, which really speaks to your intentions. So if your intention is to go into that nurturer, that caring, that sincerity voice of Mother Teresa and speak calmly and nicely and sweetly, and your intention is to deceive, well then this is wrong. But if your intention is to connect, which is what you said, and I love that, if your intention is to connect because you know that by speaking from that CEO high intense level, that you know that if you speak to that, you're just going to push them away, well, then you are truly living in who you are. And you can take that imposter syndrome and say, hey, look, this is who I am. This is coming from my voice and from my heart, and my intention is to serve, which you said earlier. So I love all of that. I was kind of playing a game with myself as you were going through all of them, because you were like CEO, and then you went through the rest of them, and you Mother Teresa and engineer, and I was like, all right, who's what? And it's interesting because you have the CEO, which is exactly what you described there. The next one is your founder, is your visionary, is your founder.
Well, it was like the life of the party. It was like what I call
the party. That's your founder. Mother Teresa, those are your HR executives. Like if you're looking into HR, right? So those are your HR executives. So when you're speaking in sales, those are your Mother Teresa's, your HR executives. They're the ones who are just like,
they're the nurturers. They're nurturers. I call them nurturers. They're nurturers.
They're the nurturers. They want to know that the benefits are right for the company, for the client. They want to know that they're in the right role and all that other stuff. And your engineers, they're your CFOs and your engineers, right? They're the
your
tinkerers.
CFOs. They're your CTOs. They're
your tinkerers.
Your COOs.
And what's great about you breaking it up like this and then going into the different executive levels is for everybody listening, and I want to get into your sales strategies because that's what you do. This is what you train on. This is how you've built your empire and how you've built others as well, is when you could figure out these personality types and what we were talking about earlier is that now we know how to compose an email to them. We know how to hit them up on LinkedIn. We know maybe LinkedIn's not the best spot for them because maybe they're more of that life of the party, and maybe it is Facebook, or maybe it is Instagram.
Well, there's even tools now.
Right. And let's get into that. Let's let you take the reins.
So you just said LinkedIn. So if you're in, I'll tell you this. I don't do business on LinkedIn. That's not where my.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
My clientele is right now. But if you're doing business on LinkedIn, you need to have a tool called Crystal Knows. So Crystal Knows will look at the profile automatically. It's all AI, right? And we'll look at it and it will tell you based off of their profession, their picture, what they've posted, what their job career is, and all these other things of the type of person they are. Then it will tell you how to email them. Then it will tell you what to say in that email. And I'll teach them. It literally tells you basically how to communicate with them, what not to say, what to say, all of that. It's a no-brainer.
This is awesome that you brought up Crystal Knows, and I didn't know about Crystal Knows, and I think that's awesome. And I made a note of it for myself because I'm training someone right now in sales, and one of the exercises that we did without even knowing about this, what you're talking about, is you were going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about that in depth in a moment. But I'm a relationship-driven sales type of person. So as I'm training this guy, his name's Kayvon, really great guy. As I'm training him, I'm training. He's young. He's 20 years old. He's in college still. I'm training him on how to understand what a relationship is and how it works in our business. So what I mean by that is he's selling my keynotes, workshops, and coaching services. So it's important that he understands what do I value. And so just to kind of keep this all very simple, I speak about growth, a lot of growth mindset. I speak about communication, sales, and I speak about leadership, right? And so when we went to LinkedIn to find the right prospects and the right companies, what he and I did together is essentially what you just said, Crystal Knows. We went to profiles and I said, all right, Kayvon, let's look at this profile. Let's look at their bio. And in it, do they talk about growth mindset or do they talk about scarcity mindset? And obviously, and I didn't say it exactly like that, but I'm just expediting the conversation here. Obviously, the people that are in scarcity mindset, I'm like, Kayvon, those don't fit our mold. We don't want to prospect to them. I mean, would we get a sale out of them? Maybe, but would we have an impact on them? Probably not. But the people in the growth mindset who are saying talent development or you could see that they're investing in organizations like yours and in others to build up their sales team or even their leadership team. Those are the ones we want to speak with. Will we get the sale? Maybe not, but we're speaking the same language. And when we do get the deal out of the relationship, we're on and we're creating an impact. We're on the same level. And so we're going to get into relationships in a little bit because it speaks to that relationship of I want to form relationships with people who want to grow, who want to develop. I'll be more than happy to help the people in a scarcity mindset shift from there. But when we're talking about prospecting and I'm helping somebody there, it's really, let's find the people, if we want to make the biggest, greatest impact, let's find the people that align with our values first. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So get into now more of that relationship side, because you were saying that about this Crystal Knows, and then we're talking about the relationships. Let's get into a little bit about how you are developing relationships, and outside, you said you don't use LinkedIn. So where do you go to develop these relationships?
Events, masterminds. If you're a business owner, I'll tell you this: the biggest mistake I made after we grew the business from 0 to 38 million, and I departed from that business and started my agency because of the demographic, and my service was very, very niche and very, very expensive. So it wasn't one of those ones where you can just run Facebook ads because you just be burning dollars, right? It was really relationship based. And the biggest mistake I made is very important is I thought I have all the relationships. Let's not worry about it. And so we didn't do any lead gen. We did no relationship building. And then 2.5 years later, we had 4 of our top clients, all different things happen to them. Like one of them, 24-year-old, sold the business, multi-millions of dollars. We're out. Second business that we got from like doing 50 grand a month, they were doing about $500,000 a month. VC company comes and buys them. First thing they do, obviously, get rid of the outside sales team. Third company he was doing like 200K months, 300K months. His lawyers found out they were getting defrauded from some company in China, blah, 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 blah. Woke up one day, they literally all the bank, everything, they seized everything. The lawyers, everything. Like we were locked out of everything. It was over like within 24 hours. And that hurts your business, right? Massively. Like at that point, we lost about 40 to 50% of our revenue within like 3 months. So I said, all right, good. No worries. Let me go to my network. There was no network. I had my network, but my network didn't need what I needed. And my network wasn't big anymore because I didn't do anything for 2 years. So then we're like, oh shit, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And we're like, let's start going to masterminds. Let's go start going to the proper events. And, every event I go to, every mastermind I go to, I come out with 5 or 6 new relationships. And one of them actually introduces me to, like, if I don't make a sale at the mastermind, for instance, I was just at a last mastermind 2 weeks ago where I was speaking about human-centric selling, and there were like weapons in there. No one in that crowd needed my service, but every one of them has a massive community and they need my service. And they introduced me to their people, and now their people introduced me to their people. And all of a sudden, now I'm speaking to people that want to do business with me. And I can easily track that back to that mastermind because I can say, I would never have met that person without meeting that person, So I think masterminds and events are very important if your business is like ours, where we're an agency model, we're working in a niche market. If you're like everyday, whatever it needs to be, well, then you got to be running your Facebook ads, your YouTube ads, doing your LinkedIn strategy, all of that. I think the other thing too with relationships is where you can win in relationships, which I love, especially in the online world, is people do these one call close. I was called a one call closer in 2017. I actually trademarked. I had the trademark. I gave it up because I was like, it's embarrassing. I was trademarked a one call closer because I could close someone in one call. I didn't have to build relationships, which I like. I'm like, oh, great. I don't have to work. I don't have to do all that energy. Just close them, boom. And then the market changed, right? The market got sophisticated. And what was great was, it was like, all right, I just go back to what I'm doing. But everyone that was only learned the one call close started failing because they didn't understand the foundation and the fundamentals of sales, which at the end of the day, very easy, very simple. I'm going to tell you the most simplest concept of sales. People do business with people they like, period. People do business with people they like. Your job is to make sure they know, like, and trust you. You got to make them feel seen, heard, and right. And you can only do that through relationships, building that relationship. So how do you build relationships? You follow up. You reach out to them. You don't, every time you speak to them, you're not just trying to make a sale. You're connecting with them. There's some guys that I would, again, I used a pharma for this one because it was my last career where I had to really build I'm talking like these relationships you have to create in that world. Like I said, people had them for 20 years, 15 years. Like that's like they go to their kids' weddings. Like how do you compete with the rep that's going to the kid's wedding, right? So how do you compete with them? We'll do what I did in the first year. Every new rep comes in and what do? They try to sell. I didn't sell. I said, I'm not here to sell you. I'm just here to learn. I'm here to help you. Whatever you need, I'm here. However I can support you, just let me know. And it was like almost a pattern interrupt. I didn't know I was doing it, but it was a pattern interrupt because they're expecting me to be a salesperson and I completely wasn't being a salesperson. So now all of a sudden they go, oh, what's this guy's interesting? Oh, people who are interested. Be interesting and be interested. We can go on forever about this, right? Relationships is a long-term game, and people are not willing to put in the chips for it. They're not willing to put in the deposits, the relationship deposits. Let's call them relationship deposits, which is a follow-up. So I have one client trying to close. We have a great relationship. I've known him for 3-4 years, but now we're in I'm now in the sales process with him, and that's outside our friendship. So we have a friendship, but then I'm in the sales process. And last Friday, I think it was, because it was a couple of weeks since I talked to him. Last Friday, I just said, hey, just following up. Know you're busy, not even pressuring you, just making sure you're not testing my follow-up game, because I can do it. Press send, right? He just comes back laughing his ass off. And I was like, oh, and by the way, I was meant to follow up in 2 days. I'm just, 2 days earlier. And then 2 days later, all I just said, following up as promised. People that's it. That's it. People don't even do that.
Keeping it simple. Yeah. Because I think what happens, and I'll, say, even for myself, when I think about back in my sales days, we think that we need to say more. And what happens is we get caught in that cycle, right? You get caught in a cycle of, I think I need to say more. And so you start overthinking what you need to say. Then you start responding for the prospect. And then what happens? You freeze. And then you don't even send anything.
Right. I know you're writing quotes down. Write this down.
And jump on that. Go ahead.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
The less you talk, the more you sell. If you ain't making sales, start asking questions. 10x your questions, you'll 10x your sales. I'm not saying 10x your conversation. I'm not 10xing your monologues, 10xing your pitches. I'm talking about just 10xing your questions.
Right. Yeah. And you're
how do you build a relationship with someone? One of the fundamentals, get them to talk about
themselves.
Don't talk about yourself. Get them to talk about them.
Yeah.
People love talking about themselves. So ask the questions. If you're sitting here and you're a new entrepreneur, maybe even successful entrepreneur, and you this is all good for you. One of the best books, I would say, two books, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and The Speed of Trust.
I knew the How to Win Friends because of what you were talking about in terms of your foundations of it, of know, like, and trust. But what's the speed of trust? Go ahead.
The speed of trust is how you get people to trust you quicker, because if people can trust you quicker, you can get a deeper relationship.
Yeah, and that's great, because I want to go back to masterminds, because that's one of the ways to expedite trust, is to have that common ground, a meeting place. I'm interested. We hear a lot. So in terms of networking, you have your chambers of commerces. I'm a part of chambers of commerce.
Yeah, you have all those.
You have your business associations. You have all of these, and for everybody listening, get familiar with those. Your business associations and your chambers, they're going to be great places for you to shake hands, rub elbows, learn your elevator pitch, if you want to call it that, but really learn how to connect with people. Masterminds are at a different level, and Napoleon Hill speaks first about the mastermind, and we hear the phrase, we hear the term a lot these days. And so I'd like if you can kind of describe what masterminds mean to you, and the ones that you're maybe a part of in the way of the description of what they bring and offer.
I'll just say this, because it came up to me while you're talking, right? Is your and the quote is your network is your net worth. Yeah. Right. So masterminds, to me, actually the name is overplayed a little too much for me. Right. And in a good mastermind, a real mastermind isn't a paid mastermind. A real mastermind is a collective of minds. That's what a mastermind is: the collective of great minds coming together and supporting each other. Not I say this with respect, because it's just the model, and that's what people do. Not, hey, pay me and I'll let you be part of my community. But that's what masterminds are today, and that's fine, and that's and that's just the way it is. But what it is, it's a collective of entrepreneurial minds and networks coming together. So at the last mastermind I was at, there was people talking about email marketing, some of the best people in the world. I would not know the things I was learning because you can't be an expert in everything. I would not know the deep secrets of email marketing if I didn't pay to play. I'm now in rooms with some of the best email deliverability people. I was also in a room with some other guys that crushing marketing, telling us about TikTok and about like a secret way they found out to leverage TikTok. You can never read that in a textbook. You're never going to read it online. And most of the people that have these courses are not, again, I have courses too, but like, so I gotta, I don't want to say much, but like a lot of these people that have courses don't know shit from their ass to their elbow, and they're just regurgitating stuff they learned from a course they just took, right? But when you get to the mastermind level, and if the mastermind is curated properly, you're going to be with top level people. This mastermind, I was punching way above my weight being there, but it led me to some fantastic conversations and some people that are now I'm going to be doing business with that I never thought I'd even have an opportunity to do business with, that have had access and worked with people that like I look up to. That would never happen without the mastermind. That would never happen without putting in the money. So a lot of people, again, you can either you can pay nothing and learn and fail and learn and fail. And if you're really, really smart and you have money to stay in the game, good for you. But that's a lot of reasons why, like, I forget what it was. Like, there's a percentage of the number one reason why businesses fail in the first year is they run out of money. That's it, plain and simple. But it's not that the idea was bad. It's not the concept was bad. They just ran out of money. So you can pay for speed, or you can learn the hard way. And for me, I'm going to try to pay for speed every place I can go.
Speak to us a little bit about that curated properly, because every mastermind is different, and there's a curation process.
So you don't want to create a mastermind. Like, there's all different levels of mastermind. There's the masterminds that I can't even get into. Like I can't even get into, because you got to have a net worth of X, or you got to have a business doing 100 million. If you're not a CEO of a $100 million business, you can't get in there. Why? Because those CEOs want to learn what it takes to go to $1 billion. What would a $50 million CEO do and give to a $100 million CEO? How much value is there? There's not. So maybe you can bring in one or two of those guys because you want to bring them up, but you got to curate it. So in that room, you want to have a lot of the people at 100 million. You want to have a lot of people at the billion. And then you might have a couple of people at the 50, 60 million trying to get in there. But if you're trying to make a mastermind, I'm just putting numbers out here, right? And you're trying to make a mastermind for 100 million people, but you fill it with a bunch of 60 million people, what's going to happen? They're going to get in there and they're going to start asking questions. They're going to say, this isn't for me. It's going to fail. So it's about curating the right ones. And it's about because this mastermind world is created like, charlatans, and it created people that just join them and just try to sell. There's masterminds that party. You're not allowed to sell, like, at all. If you even get caught selling and someone like tells, or, says, hey, this guy's kind of being sleazy, you're out. There's others that are specific. Today, you guys go network, sell your brains out. You know what I mean? So it's all different. They're all different.
And I think I'd call those more of a networking group then, right? The ones where you're pitching your product and you're really going into bringing referrals in and things of that nature.
Or communities. People are calling them communities.
Yeah. I mean, there's a mastermind element to it because you're bringing, like you said, a collaboration of minds and bringing value. There's an element to it, but it's really a networking group. And I think that's a good distinction to make of, like, a true mastermind is, like you said, this collection of minds that are bringing value for you to learn and be able to use in your business. You're making relationships that can eventually turn into profitable relationships.
Yeah.
But the purpose isn't solely to.
It's not just relationship, it's knowledge. Literally, the mastermind was knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great distinction.
The story I always love, the Henry Ford story. You know that in Think and Grow Rich? Do you know that story?
Of course, in Think and Grow Rich, yeah. Yeah, where he talks about, he gets asked, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do that? He says, no, because I could just press a button.
Yeah, well, he said no, because I have the best in the world.
That's right.
right? So that was, that's kind of like the mastermind too. Like, can you, I call that, I don't want to get too much into this, but I always have say like when I was younger, I had my personal board of directors. So I actually went onto an Excel, whatever, drew a box, like as if I was sitting at a table, and I'm sitting at the head of the table, and who's at this table. And in that, I always wanted to have the best person that I can have access to, that I know, to sit in each seat in every area of my life. And back then it was like the 5 Fs. I lived off this idea of the 5 Fs.
Tell us about them.
Family, friends, fitness, financial, faith. So who are all the people sitting there to help and make sure that I'm living my best in all those areas?
I think that's a really great concept to consider. Adam Grant talks about it as your challenge network. There's a whole bunch of different ways to think about it.
Yeah, I never even heard of that, but I like that. Your challenge network's great. Yeah,
I love
accountability.
I love the challenge network, because in the challenge network, and it's probably similar to what you were talking about in terms of your board of directors, is you're looking for feedback. You have this great idea, you're doing this thing, you're passionate about this idea or this thing, and you're going to these people who are experts in their specific field, and you're playing it out with them to get feedback, to understand, what are the holes in it, what are the deficiencies, and what is it what's really good about it, so that we can really understand and kind of work it out to where now when we're out in the public, we've gone through a lot of the pain points and challenges already to have more of a refined tool. So I think it's a great idea for people who are just starting out right now, is like, who's your board of directors? And like you said, it could be family and all that. You mentioned fitness in there, and I kind of want to go to skiing real quick. Have a little fun here with your skiing career, and maybe share some ski stories that you might have and some cool places that you skied.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Fitness is something that sometimes is very overlooked in business and in entrepreneurship, however we want to look at it. We think of, I didn't eat lunch today, or I'm not eating, or I don't have time for exercise, or I don't have time for meditation. And I'm going to put mental fitness and physical fitness together in this conversation just for the sake of time here. But very often it's overlooked. And I know you're ready to jump in there, so just jump right in here about the importance of fitness, both mental and physical here.
Well, the reality, it is overlooked, but I don't know if you see it. I'm at least seeing a trend with the people that I'm in connection with, is they're now taking their fitness and serious, because you can't give what you don't have. And I learned, and I'm going through that myself. I'll call it a spade when I can, because I was so determined to build this business, and I was been like just head down. Before 5 years ago, I was working out like 6 days a week, 2 activities. At one point I was doing 3 activities a day. Like, it was a workout, playing tennis, and hiking, workout, playing tennis, biking 70, 80K, right? But you can't do that when you have a business, when you're starting a business. I want to be very clear, when you're starting a business. When you sell your business and it's thriving, you can go back to that, right? But what I did was I just stopped everything cold turkey. And I was working 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. And I did that for 4 years, and my body's messed up now from it. My nervous system is messed up. So I'm obviously going back to the gym 5 days a week now, because I have the time and I'm doing that. But like, it can crush you if you don't take care of your health. Now there's people that I believe, again, I'm not effective unless I'm in the gym. Like, I need to get that energy out. I need to do my cardio. I need to lift strong, because it gives me energy, and it's a way for me to get rid of bad energy and allow new energy in. If you're filled up with bad energy or negative, or call it scarcity, right? There's no room. You don't have room, and the universe will not give to you what can't flow through you. So you gotta be like a river, always constantly cleansing, right? So for me, health mindset, all of that is number one. Like that's more important than your business. There's no point in having $100 million business if you're dead. Now, it gets harder when you have kids. I now have 2 girls, both under the age of 3. Right. So like we're in it, right? Business, kids,
Congratulations.
Getting to the gym. And it's more than ever. It's now I'm looking at how more important than it is than ever, because I got to live. I can't be hurt. Right. And then the reality is the new smoking is sitting. And we sit like, if you're working from home, you're constantly sitting, right? Like when I was in pharmaceuticals, I was driving, but I'd get up, get out of the car, walk. Like I was up, sitting down, up, down, right? I can go 5 hours without even getting up, not even knowing it. That's just like, might as well go smoke 20 packs of cigarettes because they're both going to kill you. So taking care of your health is number one. Taking care of your mindset is number one, because all that's going to pour into your business anyways. All that energy is going to pour in. You can't act like a leader. You can't come from a place of leadership when you're in this scarce mindset, or when you're not healthy and you're, not well. Yeah. And you're going to see this trend. There's a trend happening. I'm seeing it, where we always had this trend of health, and you can talk about the health fitness world, but I'm talking about general public. You're going to see, you'll see a lot of people are going to get a lot more, like gyms are going to get busier. A lot of these fancy new whatever things are coming out because people are realizing vitality comes from fitness.
We see, I see that with myself. I know that when I don't exercise, and it's not like I don't even have a gym membership actually. So my exercise is straight up calisthenics. It's pull-ups, push-ups, crunches, what's it called? Squats. And then I go to the courts this morning. It was nice out, so I went and shot around for basketball. So I know, like for myself, I don't feel good if I don't exercise, have some sort of exercise. And I think it's a big one. And I know also same thing with the mental of meditation and doing self-hypnosis and all these other things. One of the things I'm sure you know of or aware of, and you might even have this, but you get caught in a flow, is a stand-up desk. I mean, I use that where, to stand. That definitely helps. You mentioned something that I think is really important to share with everybody listening, because even myself, we get caught up in this world of hearing this balance of we need to, I'm building a business, but I also need to exercise and take care of all this. And all of that is true. But you did mention,
I don't believe in it.
Right. You did mention that when you were building your business, you were like, I got to go all in.
You got to go.
Tell us about that.
I don't believe in it. And you know what I mean? I always like, I try to watch sometimes what you say on podcasts, because 2 years from now, my mindset can change, right? And then all of a sudden,
that's part of the growth mindset.
You're saying the opposite of what you once said. And people are like, oh, you're a hypocrite, right? And it's like, no, I've changed.
Right.
I would hope I've changed.
Right.
But my belief today, so when I was young and naive, I believed that success was being perfect in all aspects of those 5 F's. And that's impossible. And I've realized that. So now I go, okay, what are the things that I want to be perfect in? And then what are the things that I'm okay being good in? Because you're never going to be in the best shape of I'm talking top tier shape of your life, having a top tier business, or trying to, let's just say, starting a top tier business, right?
Starting. That's exactly it.
And then being the top tier father, right? Like, it's just like, you got to choose. You got to choose what, and you got to be okay with it. You got to choose what's most important to you. Now I see a lot of, I laugh because some of these new, these entrepreneurs I'm seeing coming out, and they taught all entrepreneurship, sell their companies for 30, 40 million. Now they're like, oh, it's fitness. You got to take care of your fitness. It's like, guys, like, shut up, man. Like, you guys, all you do is get to work out. Like, you made your money. So I hate that hypocrite. Can't even say right now, being hypocrite, right? But I just don't like that, because it's a fake image, right? Like, I rather them say, hey, I'm so grateful that I may put the work in to get to where I'm at, so now I can focus on my fitness. Because what happened 3 years ago? You were fat and you were not in shape. You were not showing your abs online. You know what I mean? Now you're just shirts off and trying to tell everybody that, that it's the latest, greatest thing. But what I believe is like an hour a day. 45 minutes to an hour a day.
That's all you
have
need.
to every day. That's all you need.
That's all you need is an hour a day.
You got to move.
And
You just got to
I'm-
move. You got to move. Like, I don't know, but walking, people say walking is enough. I don't believe walking is enough. Like, you got to exert yourself. You got to be sweating. You got to be like, if you're not sore after a day of working out, or you're not breathing heavy and you're not sweating in your activity, you're not, I don't think you're actually, helping yourself, but you want to exert yourself.
I'm glad you made that distinction of these entrepreneurs and the different types, right? Because you can have the small business owner who is just kind of going along their path and doing a little bit of exercise, a little bit of work, and kind of having a little bit in every space. And the distinction that we have here that we want to make clear for everybody listening is that if you're trying to build like a $38 million business, if you're trying to build this like top tier business, to realize that you're going to have to give some things up. And again, back to my original question, what I want to make clear here is that what we see and what you just said we see is the business owner on the other side of building that business. And they're talking about their fitness and their lifestyle and everything. Yeah. And they're not talking about the grind that went in previously. And so I thought this was important to bring up with you because it's a belief of yours. Because I was fed that too, right? We're seeing on the other side, we're not seeing the grind, and you grinded. And so that's why I wanted you to make that distinction. And I really appreciate your honesty of, hey, look, for 3-4 years, I didn't touch a weight. And
no, it was bad. Yeah. It was bad. It wasn't good. I'm not saying
no. No one's saying that that's good, but that was part of the compromise that you gave.
I kind of go back and I almost kind of regret that in a way. I wish I would. I bet you I actually go back and think, what would it have looked like if I would have just, come on, an hour, just
30 minutes an
maybe
hour a
things
day.
would have been different, right?
Yeah, 30 minutes an hour a day.
Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, you're a direct reflection of the results you get.
Right.
So if I'm not taking care, you can't give what you don't have, right? So if I'm not taking care of number one, see, a lot of people we're in school, right? Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. If you don't take care of you, which is being selfish, how can you take care of anyone else?
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to live a life of being selfish today, so then I can be generous tomorrow. Most people are not willing to make that commitment or sacrifice.
I want to go back to your sports days. So I mentioned skiing. You mentioned also that you had a scholarship for football. Yeah. And so you have a lot of athletics in your life. And there's a huge correlation from athletics to sales. And I'm interested in some of the transferable skills that you picked up from your athletic career into your sales career.
Yeah, it's discipline. It's funny you say that. My company, one of our core pillars is the athlete's DNA.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
So we only hire people with the athlete's DNA. We only hire, we try to only hire people that played professional sports. Because we know if you played, not, I grew up playing hockey when I was 8 years old and I quit when I was 9. No, I'm talking you actually played at a competitive level. Because when you play at a competitive level, you learn about teamwork, even if it's an individual sport. You learn about loss. You learn about winning. You realize that character and greatness isn't built when you won the game. It's when you lost the game. It's easy. Think about it. For salespeople too, this is why salespeople are so up and down. And that's why at the end of the year, they don't make their numbers. Because they wait till they feel good to do good. And if I waited every day to feel good to do good, I would not be where I am in my life. It's how you do on the days you feel like shit, on the days you feel like giving up, on the days you feel like failing, or like quitting. And you can still show up and do good. Not great, but you do good. And that consistency is the difference. And then you ask, what's the correlation? The correlation is they have this winner's mindset. They have a discipline to them. They have a commitment to them. They have a resilience, which is huge. They have this idea, this resilience. And most important for me is they rather lose the game and know they left everything on the table than win the game and know they could have done better. That's the difference. That's the difference between a player and a pretender. So pretenders, they pass the ball when the game's on the line. Players, they shoot.
And go back to that learning through adversity that you just mentioned there, in terms of like learning through the losses.
In what context? Like
however you decide to kind of break that out, because I think that's a huge piece here that as entrepreneurs.
Okay, so I'll tell you this. The piece that we should be getting at here about adversity is entrepreneurship sucks. It's hard. It is not what you think, oh, just work hard for a year and become a multimillionaire. No, it is challenging. It's actually probably more bad days than there are good days, especially when you are growing the business. And I'm telling you, I've grown out 3 businesses now, failed twice, almost bankrupt twice, 7 days from bankruptcy, having to get loans, not even know how I'm going to pay the rent, all of that. Like, no one talks about that. No one talks about even when you get a little momentum and you start thinking you're doing well, and then that's taken away from you. Or the opposite, where you had it and then you lost it. Meaning where you're making $150K a month and then all of a sudden it's gone and now you're making $10K a month. But your lifestyle is now at $150K and you got to give up that. These are challenges. Like, people don't talk about it. They don't talk about how hard it is to lead a team. They think, oh, I'm just a leader. Well, yeah, go try to actually lead a team to get them to actually do things. That's one of my hardest challenges. And I'll say it, I'm constantly learning and growing as a leader, making many mistakes and learning from them, making them again and going, damn, I did it again. Learning from them. It's constant learning. It's constant challenges. It constant no's. You're going to get beat up. You got to get up. You're going to sweat. You're going to have blood. You're going to crawl off the field. And then the next day you got to get back on. You got to play the game again. That's what entrepreneurship is, but no one talks about it. Again,
well, you are, and we appreciate that.
Right? Nobody talks about the dead bodies. They only talk about the winners, the 1% that win. But no one ever talks about, well, wait a minute. So all this online, oh, it's so easy to make money. You see these 19-year-olds who are making millions of dollars a month, and you're thinking, well, he can do it. Everyone can do it. But they're not. No one ever talks about, oh, wait a minute, though. There's also millions of people who try to do what he did, and they failed. And they're dead. They're called what we call dead bodies, right? That's what adversity looks like.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about that. So you said, almost went bankrupt twice. What were some of the things that you had to do mentally in order to get through those situations?
Well, mentally, I had to believe that there was I was working for something that was going to happen. That was bigger than me. I was working for the vision, right? You'll never burn out, no matter how hard you work, if your vision is clear. It's only when you start losing your vision is when you start burning out. And when you have vision so clear, no Red Bull, no 10 cups of coffee will ever outrun or outweigh the vision. So in my worst days, my vision was still clear. I said, I just knew I was doing stuff wrong. Clearly I'm doing stuff wrong. Because people around me are being successful, and I know they're not that smarter than me. They're not that better than me. They've just figured out. They figured out the nuances. There's nuances. So for me, as I was standing in that line, this was a very important piece of the story. As I was standing in the line, literally at the bank, about to go sign the paper saying I'm bankrupt, about to say, claim it, which is the epitome of the opposite of success for me. It's like the epitome of failure. Now, sometimes people have to claim bankruptcy for tax reasons and stuff like that. I'm talking about truly bankrupt. I'm talking like you don't have $1 to your name. You can't pay rent. And I was standing there, and I remember if you're not reading, you're not learning, right? So I've read, reading a lot of books, and most of the business books and the self-development books will tell you there will be days when you're building your business that you'll be put on the spot where you're going to make hard decisions and you're going to have to push forward or give up. 2 feet from gold. 2 feet from gold, right? So I was like, this is that. This is it. This is like, and I was actually excited. I was like, this is the point where people fail. Because if I make one step forward, I fail. But if I make one step back and get the fuck out of this bank, I still have a chance to win. So I turned around and I left. And then I'm like, well, now what do you do? It's all of a sudden, people like, again, now what do you do? You're hurt. You're embarrassed. You're ashamed. You had this corporate job of making $300,000, driving the car, working 1 day a week, like having all this fun, living in downtown Vancouver in the condo life. Now you have $150,000 in debt, and you don't have mommy and daddy. Mommy and daddy, nobody's saving you. There's no trust fund. There's no even mom and dad or doctors and lawyers or even teachers that had put a nest egg where no. Mommy and daddy, you're paying for mommy and daddy. Your responsibility is them, and now you're $150K in debt. Well, what do? You can't quit. What do you do? Well, what did Colonel Sanders do? What did we learn? What did he do? How many no's did he have to hear? So I was willing to do that. Are you willing to do the things that most people won't in order to live a life that most people will never have? I haven't said that in, oh my God, 10 years. But like that was one of the quotes my first mentor said to me. Are you willing to do what most people won't in the next 3 to 5 years to have what most people will never kind of have? Like, and so I was like, all right, picked up the phone. Hey, Kayvon here. Listen, I'm in shit. Like, I need a loan. I need about a $30,000 loan. Like, can you give it to me? No. Okay. I had to suck up my ego. And it wasn't until the 27th call. And you know what I say? I was lucky. I didn't have to make 500 calls. That would have sucked. I only made 27 calls. 27 calls. And the guy goes, Kayvon, I've always believed in you. Tell me a little bit more what you need it for. I told him what I needed it for. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Said, I give it to you. Said, okay, great. I'll never forget. This was February 2017. Darkest days. And I don't know if you know, in February in Canada too, is like, it's the darkest, shittiest time of the year, right? And he said, when do you think you can pay me back? And now, before that, as a dumb young entrepreneur, I used to think I was going to become a millionaire in 30 days. So that's why I used to keep investing. Go $20K here, I'll get it back next week. 30K here, I'll get it back. And next thing you know, you're 150K in debt. And this time I knew. Now you're playing with someone else's money. It's different. It's actually different when you play with someone else's money, especially when you have to owe them, especially if they're in your personal network too. And if you have integrity and honor like I do, if I'm doing that, I'm paying you back. And if I can't pay you back, I'm going to find a way to pay you back. So I said, well, honestly, like September. And then when I said that, I was like, oh, I got to be honest. Like, if you can pull this to January, that'd be really nice. Give me basically a year. And he said, here's the deal. In September, you're going to start paying me $500 a month. And when we get to January, whatever's left that if you haven't paid off, we're going to start charging 10%. So done. Thank you. Boom. 30 days later, making $25,000 a month. 60 days later, making $45,000 a month. 18 months later, $38 million company.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
That would never, ever would have happened if I would have took that one step forward at the bank.
That's a great story.
And God knows where I would have gone. Because I couldn't go back to corporate. There's no way. I am not employable. I am not employable. I have gotten fired from every single job I've ever had. I was the number one pharmaceutical sales rep, and they fired me because I didn't fit into their mold. You want to know why they fired? They didn't give me the award, the number one award, where then you get like a bonus, you go on vacation, and you can't deny the numbers. So I'm at the event in the gala, best dressed suit, tuxedo. Everyone's like, Kayvon, congratulations. Like, everybody is like, congratulations. They go announce the winner. I'm like getting up and they announce somebody else. And obviously you're like, what the fuck is going on here? To find out they didn't like me because they didn't like how tight my pants were. They didn't like that I wore fitted suits, because all these dinosaurs wore black, shitty suits, like baggy. And I was sharp. I was like sharp, like always dressed sharp. Nice shoes, nice fitted pants, tight jacket, pocket square, looking like a G. And they didn't want me to be a representation of their company. Racism.
Kind of goes back there sometimes, huh?
Yeah.
I can't not go back to the $38 million company. I mean, that's a great story of overcoming that moment, that challenge that we just talked about. What were some of the things that you did? So you had to do some hard things, right? And you said 25,000, 45,000, 65,000, 38 million.
So no, I actually didn't have to do the hard things.
What did you do?
And let me explain why.
Yeah.
Before that, I was trying to be an internet marketer. I was trying to, what I'm doing now, but I didn't have the skill set. And I was just relying on other people to actually care about me. I'd tell them how much I want to succeed. They would tell me how much they believed in me. They would take my money and they didn't give a shit. And that happened, kept happening until I was 150K in debt. And then that 30K was for a mentor. So I called somebody, a mentor in where I was living. I'm like, listen, I'm bankrupt and here's all what I've been doing wrong. But I know that I have X. Like, I need someone just to tell me, like, what the hell am I doing? Because I'm blind. Obviously, I'm blind spots. And he said, well, I know exactly how it help you. And I said, okay. And he's like, 30K. I just said, I'm bankrupt. Like, well, so that's why I left and went and grabbed the 30K. Got the 30K, gave it right to him. He said, you're not a marketer, you're a salesperson. Go be a salesperson. And I was like, I just gave you $30,000 for you to tell me that I'm a salesperson? I've been a salesperson for 25 years. I know I'm a salesperson. What the fuck are you talking about? He goes, no, you don't get it. Instead of being the man, so you're selling a package for 10 grand, but as you know, you got to do the internet market. You got to do like Facebook ads. You got to do the automation. You got to do all that work. He's like, just go close for them and you make 2 grand. And I said, okay, what? Because I didn't know at the time that there was high ticket closing, which is my life now. I had no idea about it. I just never knew about it. Like it was again, you don't know what you don't know. And as soon as he told me that, I'm like, well, where? He's like, all over. Go to Facebook groups. So I went into the very first Facebook group and I saw a posting, and the posting was like, looking for a closer, looking for a sales rep. Freaking jumped on it right away, got on a call. Obviously, I know how to get a job. Got the job, found out it was actually working for one. I don't want to mention the name, but at that time, one of the top influencers. I had no idea like what I was getting into. 20K offer, filled up my calendar, just making sales all day, sitting in my underwear. Oh my God. That was actually like the happiest time of my life because I didn't have anything. I had no business. I had no employees. I had no expenses. I was just showing up, doing one call closes and getting paid fat checks. Then the mentor came up to me and said, damn, like how many times do you think he told people to do that? Many. How many times do you think people had success? None. Right. So he said, you think we can teach this? I said, oh, baby, we can teach this. He goes, okay, let's go into business partnership. I said, oh my God, this is amazing. Cause he was a phenomenal marketer. So it's great. He's okay. You go build it. So I went and built it all. We built it. We went and did it all. And little did we know, we had no idea it was going to get this big, but again, 0 to 38 in 18 months. We were training at that time was like 15,000 people, 100 different countries. It was wild. It was like there was a statement. I'm not, again, watching my words, but there was a statement back in 18 that we made on this whole idea of high ticket closing. And then from there, that was it. Like I knew that's my kind of my expertise, 20 years of experience. And then what actually happened was I actually got really good at it. Like, and I learned it. It clicked one day, like what high ticket closing is, which I realized it's this connection. It's about asking the right question. It's not about trying to sell. Like I'm not coming into this call with the idea of selling, because when you put yourself first, you end up on the bottom. When you put your prospect first, you end up on top. So that all kind of clicked to me. And then I was very successful at it. And I was very successful at teaching it. And then I wanted to help more businesses instead of just my own business. So we went and built out the Sales Connection, the agency, where we build remote sales teams for entrepreneurs. We manage, we recruit, we onboard, systems, automation, everything, full sales department.
And that's what you're doing today.
That's what we're doing today. The
And
Sales Connection.
So that's separate from the $38 million company.
Yeah. $38 million, that was done. Yeah. That went 0 to 38. And then there was a lot that went on. When you scale that fast, and other people don't understand this too. When you scale that fast, you break. You break.
Tell us about that.
You get greedy. You get greedy because if you, and the reality is, we didn't have a business, we had an ad. A lot of these internet marketers, they don't have business. And again, respect them. I respect them that because they have cash flow. Basically, they have an opportunity. It's cash flow, but it's an ad. Meaning, if all of a sudden they can't promote on Facebook, they go out of business. That's why VCs, I just learned this. If you're bringing more than 30% of your revenue from Facebook ads or like Google ads, a VC company will never invest in your company. Because a lot of these companies, a lot of these internet marketers, and I'm talking, these guys are doing $20 million. You're like, what do you mean they don't have business? They don't have a business. They got an ad. The business will break if that ad goes down.
Like it's essentially they have a lead magnet that gets people to their site, that gets people to buy their product in that moment, but it's not an ongoing relationship of ongoing sales, ongoing production.
Yeah.
And so that was similar to what that business was for you back then.
Yeah.
It was
and then there was a lot of issues.
And we're not I'm not here to dissect that business. Really what we're looking for is the growth strategies that you put in place.
Yeah.
So now with
so as we're ending here, let me say this to you. At the top, pharmaceutical game. At the bottom, bankrupt. At the top, collecting 100K checks. Back to the bottom. And back up again. And that is what business success, like that is what entrepreneurship is.
And that's what you've
built. They don't say that.
And that's what you've built today is this new business that you started from the bottom. And this business now offers what you said. It's essentially a sales team
it's sales training, sales fulfillment, all things sales. Yeah.
For other organizations. And where do you see that business going in the future for you?
Well, my goal is to have a $100 million company. So I'm doing everything I can to create the foundation so this becomes a $100 million company.
To grind
that's
that company.
My goal.
I love it.
Because that's my ultimate FU to everybody. So like that's my, I've already said FU to like a lot, to everyone that said I wouldn't get out of. Said I wasn't going to get out of elementary school. And you said I wasn't going to get out of high school. And you said I wasn't going to get out of college. And you said I was going to go if I was lucky in college. And we'll end it here. But in college, the remedial, like the specialist, like the special ed teacher, the person that you go to because you have ADD and they're supposed to support you and help you, sat me down, looked me straight in the eye, and looked at like my grades from high school and said, "I'm going to be honest with you, you won't last a month here. You probably won't get that job at the factory, but you should go back home and see if you can." That's what she said to me. That's literally what she said to me. After all my years of hearing that, and you think you broke free of it. At that time, I'm like 21 that time. Look where I am today. But my ultimate FU is the 100, right? It's like, it's that next level.
That's, and that's why, it's so important to really understand people's backstories for everybody listening here is like, everybody who's listening, I think my listeners know that we go into the backstory, but for new listeners here, that's why the backstory is so important because it all comes full circle and having to overcome that adversity was a big driving force for you and it's for you today. My last question that I like to ask and really just get a feel for everybody, and you may have a prepared mantra or maybe you don't, but what's a mantra, a thought, a quote, an idea, philosophy that you live by today and that moves you? Outside of that adversity that you just mentioned.
When things are going tough, I still in my head go, winners never quit, quitters never win. When my energy or things are not going well, like things just don't feel well, I always say, like you're a direct reflection of your results and the universe can't give to me what can't flow through me. And those are the things that I just I live by. Like, I mean, yeah.
It's so interesting how things click synergistically with guests for me. Of these different connections that we have of, being a skier. I mean, obviously I wasn't in the same realm as you. You were trying to get on the Olympic team and all that. But I just recently bought this shirt, and I was like, oh, I'm going to wear it today. I wasn't sure if I was going to wear it today or not. And I was like, no, I want to wear it today. And I feel like, it says, grow through what you go through. And it's I feel like that's been the theme of our...
Grow through what you go through,
Yeah, I feel like it's been the theme of our show today of you've grown through all of this adversity into where you are today. And it's pretty cool.
You got to be able to completely die of any version of the person you think you are so you can rebirth the version you know yourself to be.
That was awesome. I want, of course, in our show notes, all of your information will be there. But for all of our audio listeners, if you could share with them how to get in touch with you, how to connect with you on social, whatever you want to share with our audio
Very
listeners.
easy. I make it easy. Kayvon.com, Kayvon.com, Kayvon.com. From there, you can follow me all over my socials and connect with me via email, download all the free stuff I have.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure meeting you. I want to share with everyone, I am doing a fundraiser for Forgotten Children of Haiti. Just go to my website and you can learn more about the fundraiser there. Kayvon, it's been a pleasure meeting you, getting to know you. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Michael Esposito Show. For show notes, video clips, and more episodes, go to michaelespositoinc.com/podcast. Thank you again to our sponsor, Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. That's DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. This episode was produced by Uncle Mike at the iHeart Studios in Poughkeepsie. Special thanks to Lara Rodrian for the opportunity and my team at Michael Esposito, Inc.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.